Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. This is your portal into Africa's potent stories. On today's show, we begin in Tanzania, where a court has blocked live coverage of opposition leader Tundu Lissu's treason trial, a move raising strong concerns. In Zimbabwe, the United States has issued a sharp report on human rights abuses, while Burkina Faso has expelled a top UN official over a disputed report. From DR Congo, M23 rebels pull out of peace talks, and in Tanzania, a woman who regained her sight now champions trachoma awareness. We also bring you Cameroon's refinery revival and Botswana report with Rorisang Mogojwe. Watch us on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, 1up2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashkin Berry. Top stories shortly.
Missed your favorite show? Who cares?
Being on the clock, not your problem.
Your screen, your rhythm.
Because at NTV, we believe that time should follow you. Echo lets you watch your favorite shows whenever you want to.
For free, no strings, no schedule. Only the stories you love waiting for you. When you feel like it, check out 1up2.com and click Echo, where primetime is anytime. All right, let's get into our top stories on Africa. Good morning. A Tanzanian court has prohibited live broadcasting of treason proceedings against opposition leader Tundu Lissu, sparking criticism from both Lissu and his Chadema party. Principal Resident Magistrate Franco Kiswaga ruled that live streaming and broadcasts of the case would be barred in order to protect prosecution witnesses, upholding a request from state prosecutors. Lissu strongly opposed the move, arguing that the ban would conceal the trial from public scrutiny and prevent transparency in the justice process. Representing himself, after dismissing his attorneys, Lissu insisted that justice should not only be done, but be seen to be done. Lissu, a former presidential candidate and leader of Tanzania's largest opposition party, has been detained since April, facing treason and false publication charges, which he rejects. His party has already been disqualified from participating in the upcoming October elections. Lissu previously survived an assassination attempt in 2017 and remains a central figure in Tanzania's political landscape. His detention, along with recent abductions of government critics, has drawn renewed attention to the human rights record of President Samia Suluhu Hassan, who is seeking election for the first time since succeeding John Magufuli in 2021. The United States Department of State has released a report condemning Zimbabwe's human rights record, citing continued abuses and lack of accountability. The findings highlight torture, arbitrary arrests, suppression of free expression, censorship, and harassment of journalists, activists, and opposition members. The report noted that in 2024, there were no major improvements, with government critics still facing intimidation and civil servants enduring poor working conditions. Authorities were accused of cracking down on dissent ahead of the recent SADC summit in Harare, with security forces violently dispersing opposition gatherings and arresting dozens of activists. The government also amended its criminal code in 2023 to impose heavy penalties on citizens accused of undermining state sovereignty, which civil society groups say continues to suppress free speech. The U.S. report emphasized the ongoing impunity of officials accused of abuses, with no credible investigations or punishments. This track record has hampered President Emerson Mnangagwa's attempts to mend relations with Western nations. His past role alongside Robert Mugabe and involvement in the Gukurahundi atrocities continue to overshadow his leadership. Arbitrary detention remains a regular tool used against citizens, fueling further criticism of the country's governance and human rights environment. Moving on. Burkina Faso has declared United Nations Regional Coordinator Carol Flore Smershnak persona non grata, citing a UN report on violations against children that the government said was prepared without its involvement. Authorities accused the UN of publishing baseless assertions without relevant investigations or court rulings, expressing anger that they were not consulted before the findings were released. Now, Flourish Menarzinak, who was appointed last year with decades of experience in conflict and humanitarian settings, was forced to leave the country following the decision. The UN expressed regret, stressing that its staff are accorded privileges and immunities to carry out their work, while reaffirming its commitment to continue supporting the Burkinabe people. The dispute comes amid worsening violence in Burkina Faso, where Islamist militant groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State continue to destabilize communities. The UN has previously reported on killings, abductions, and recruitment of children in the conflict, despite the expulsion. Spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric confirmed that the UN remains engaged with authorities in Burkina Faso. The government, however, has doubled down on its accusations, insisting the report contained falsehoods and undermined its sovereignty. The M23 rebel movement has pulled out of peace talks with the Democratic Republic of Congo government, accusing authorities of failing to uphold a previously signed ceasefire agreement. The group, which controls large areas of eastern Congo, including Goma, said it would not return to negotiations unless the government adhered to the terms of the deal reached in Qatar last month. M23 spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka told the BBC that government forces had continued attacks on rebel positions despite ceasefire, while the Congolese army denied the claims, instead accusing the rebels of launching near-daily assaults in North and South Kivu. The talks scheduled to resume in Qatar collapsed after M23 representatives did not attend. A draft agreement had reportedly been prepared, building on a Washington-brokered peace deal between DR Congo and Rwanda, which has been accused of supporting the rebels. Thousands of civilians have been killed in the conflict and many more displaced. Despite repeated international efforts, peace agreements have consistently broken down, leaving instability in the mineral-rich eastern region unresolved. In the last of our top stories, in Mwewe village, Tanzania, Fatuma Saidi Majogo has turned her personal battle with blindness into a mission to help others. The 59-year-old former village chairperson lost much of her vision due to trachoma, a painful bacterial infection that can cause blindness if untreated. After years of suffering, she underwent corrective surgery last year through support from Sight Savers, an organization dedicated to combating neglected tropical diseases. The operation restored her sight, enabling her to resume daily activities and care for her grandchildren. Inspired by her recovery, Majogo now works to identify others in her community with eye problems, urging them to seek treatment and supporting screenings. She has already guided several villagers toward medical help, with most successfully treated. Trachoma remains a major health threat in Tanzania, though national efforts have reduced its prevalence significantly. Majogo's story highlights the impact of community health initiatives and the importance of early intervention. She encourages fellow Tanzanians not to fear surgery, insisting that eyesight is vital to quality of life. Today, she lives actively, farming, weaving, and mentoring others while spreading awareness to help eliminate trachoma in rural communities. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be joined by Rorisang Mogojwe as she delivers the Botswana report. But prior to that, it's the weather.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Having a little bit of an issue with our weather. We certainly hope we can deliver it before the end of the show. Even if we don't manage to, do not worry. Sunset News also comes through with the weather, and you can always check out our Synergy chatbot. You have a look at that L shape when it appears during this broadcast. But for now, it's time for us to talk to Rorisang Mogojwe as he delivers the Botswana report. Rorisang, dumela.
Dumela Ashwin, thank you so much for having me. And of course, Dumelang to everyone who's watching. Good morning, Africa.
All right, Botswana forensic audit has entered its second phase, which is probing corruption. Take us into it.
As you have just mentioned, Ashwin, the National Forensic Audit has officially been launched, and it is meant to assess as well as identify alleged corruption as well as misappropriation of funds across government entities, and this includes government departments, ministries, as well as state-owned enterprises. It was launched in March this year, and it is a four-phased exercise with aims to identify irregularities as well as come up or design audit plans as well as tools to track, monitor, as well as curb corruption in the future. The project head did confirm that phase one has just been completed and currently phase two is underway. Like I mentioned, that it is a four-phased exercise, and the final report is expected to be published to members of the public in February next year, 2026. The National Forensic Audit Team is actually now encouraging members of the public, whistleblowers, to come forward with credible information. However, they are stressing or warning, potential whistleblowers to avoid treating this as a witch hunt, warning that any sort of false claims or allegations may actually undermine investigations. The Forensic Audit Public Engagement Platform was launched earlier this month on the 7th of August by President Duma Boko, and it is currently open to members of the public for submissions, and it will be open until the 15th of September, and members of the public, of course, are being called on or encouraged to step forward in order to, give any sort of credible information that will assist with the audit, basically. And if I can just mention the fact that currently it is examining 30 government entities covering the period of 2014 until 2024, and everybody is looking forward to the final report that will be published, as it is believed that there has been a lot of corruption that is being uncovered and has already been uncovered through the government, within the government machinery, and really the current regime is really trying to improve the trust, public trust in the government, and so they are calling on members of the public and whistleblowers to come forward and help to identify any sort of irregularities, alleged corruption, and any misappropriation of public funds.
All right, Rorisang, in your next story, the Botswana government has clarified that the cannabis bill focuses on medicinal and industrial use, not recreational. Tell us about that.
The Cannabis Bill 2025 is one of the bills that were passed in the recently ended winter parliamentary session, and government has moved to clarify that the bill does not legalize the recreational use of cannabis. Now, the Assistant Minister for State President, Maipelo Moputing, who we will hear just now, stressed the fact that the illicit use of cannabis remains a criminal offense. Now, this comes amidst reactions from members of the public, and I suppose it was due to a lack of understanding or perhaps minimal information that was offered to the public as to exactly what this bill seeks to do. The reactions from some members of the public, some believed that the fact that there was a bill passed in parliament regarding cannabis, then that would mean that recreational use is now legal. However, this bill solely focuses on regulating cannabis for medicinal medicinal and industrial purposes with the aim of driving economic growth, research, as well as job creation while safeguarding public health. Now, remember, some countries within the Southern African region, including Lesotho, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, have actually developed tight controls or tightly controlled cannabis industries in pharmaceuticals, textiles, as well as wellness products. And so Botswana is finally coming to the table, with the aim of creating or developing legislation that will allow it to tap into this sector, this multi-billion-dollar sector, without actually compromising existing drug laws. But let's hear what the Assistant Minister for State President Maipelo Muputting had to say.
Speaker, the cannabis bill is not, and I highlight, it is not about recreational use. It is well regulated, strictly controlled, medicinal and industrial purposes. It creates a comprehensive regulatory framework establishing the National Cannabis Control Authority to license, inspect, and ensure the highest standards in cultivation, manufacturing, storage, and distribution. Really puso, Mr. Speaker, re dumela gore bili e, it will open the door for investment, job creation, and skills development in a value chain that spans from agriculture to manufacturing, exports, yaka mother of the house and abua, jalo le jalo. It positions Botswana to participate competitively in a multi-billion-dollar global market for medicinal and industrial hemp products.
Very interesting development there. Botswana would be following on the heels of South Africa. Of course, South Africa has also made it legal for recreational use. But Zimbabwe also is currently trading marijuana with regards to medicinal and industrial use. So is Malawi, and I guess Botswana wants to tap into that market. One wonders if there's any other SADC countries that may want to take up that path. Moving on to your last story, it is in the sporting world. Rorisang, Botswana has selected 10 athletes for the World Athletics Championships.
The star-studded squad was recently announced by the Botswana Athletics Association, and it consists of 9 men and 1 woman who will compete in the 800-meter race. Now, the star sprinter Litsile Tebogo will also contest and participate in the 200-meter as well as the 100-meter races, while Baya Pondori as well as Colin Kibinatsipi, Lungo Scotch, Justice Orapeling, and Gabo Rankwe will take on the 400-meter race. In hurdles, Botswana will be represented by Morena Busang and Victor Ntwing. Now, officials say this team reflects Botswana's growing depth in track events and will look to build on the country's rising profile in global athletics. And of course, the country rallies behind the team and wishes all of them the best of luck.
All right, Rorisang, thank you very much for delivering such a comprehensive Botswana report. We look forward to seeing you next week.
That is all from me. Thank you so much for having me today, Ashwin. Husiame, Africa, good morning.
Africa, good morning indeed. We're going to take a quick break before we return with economic news focusing on Cameroon's Sol oil refinery.
Irongomed is a leading distributor working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irango Med is committed to making a difference. What about you?
Let's get into the economic news on Africa. Good morning. Cameroon's sole oil refinery, inactive since a devastating fire in 2019, is now set for rehabilitation under a government-backed recovery plan. The 42,000 barrel per day Sonara facility located in the Gulf of Guinea is expected to resume operations in 2027 following the approval of a 2-year restructuring program known as Paras 24. Authorities say the revival will strengthen energy security, reduce dependence on imports and stabilize domestic fuel prices. The prolonged shutdown forced Cameroon to rely heavily on foreign fuel, deepening economic strains and widening the trade deficit. Heavy debts of more than CFA 376 billion have accumulated during the closure, while repair costs are estimated at 250 billion. The rehabilitation process will include technical upgrades, supply chain restructuring, and compliance with modern fuel standards. Officials insist petroleum supplies will remain stable during the recovery period. Analysts believe restoring operations could position Cameroon as a stronger regional energy player, filling gaps left by underperforming refineries in neighboring countries. However, significant challenges remain in securing financing, implementing upgrades, and ensuring long-term competitiveness. The restart is viewed as essential to Cameroon's economic stability and regional energy role. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. It seems we are having some issues with economic indicators. This is still Africa Good Morning. We'll take a quick break before we return with the highlights.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning as we spoke about a Tanzanian court blocking live coverage of opposition leader Tundu Lissu's treason trial. In Zimbabwe, the United States issued a sharp report on human rights abuses. Burkina Faso expelled a top UN official over a disputed report. In DR Congo, M23 rebels pulled out of peace talks. In Tanzania, there's a woman who regained her sight and now champions trachoma awareness. We also spoke about Cameroon's sole oil refinery coming back into functionality by 2027. And of course, Rorisang Mogojwe brought us the Botswana report. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, we'll be back tomorrow with South Africa report delivered by Ari Hochart and of course, news from broader Africa. Sweraja Kanaka.